Hello everyone, welcome back. This is part 3 of the Washington books. Yeah, let's just dive right in. This category is loosely anything that's not a novel, okay? So I had a bunch of books that I tried to organize. One was novels, one was like science, philosophy, psychology, and this one's everything that didn't fit into one of those two categories. So yeah, anyways. First up, we have a nice edition from Hesperus Press. I like them, they're cool. And they've published the Essays of Illy by Charles Lamb. Okay, here it is right here. Cool cover. And Charles Lamb, okay, born 1756, something like that. 1775, I think, is the year. Anyways, he was just known primarily as an essayist and an author. And he was involved in a literary circle, so he knew like William Hazlitt, William Wordsworth, Coleridge, so kind of yeah, just a well-known crew of people. What else do I have to say about him? He's very well liked. His essays in this book are primarily just about like everyday life. Like if we look at the table of contents here, we just get a very honest view of the things he saw around him. So we have New Year's Eve, a chapter on ears, Valentine's Day, the praise of chimney sweepers, a dissertation upon roast pig. So just kind of just like lovely essays about everyday life. So it's kind of cool. Next up, we have a book from an author who's still alive. I know, gasp. Imagine me reading something by somebody who is still living. Doesn't happen very often. But we have Stephen King's On Writing, okay? Now, I am trying to write. I'm partway through my first novel right now, so please subscribe to my newsletter because you will get updates about the book there. And I also write for the newsletter too. I do short stories and essays and little blurbs on history and things like that. So yeah, anyways, this has got to be one of the better writing guides out there, so I've heard. So yeah, definitely looking forward to reading this, and I might read this sooner than later. Next up, we kind of have something very interesting here, and that is the lost books of the Bible and the forgotten books of Eden. Okay, so these are like early apocryphal works that were not canonized, and it's basically Bible fan fiction. Now the back cover says that they were suppressed by the early church fathers, making it seem like some sort of conspiracy. Not really a conspiracy, they just weren't deemed to be canonical because they kind of contradicted with doctrines of Paul or Jesus. So anyways, kind of cool, biblical fan fiction. Looking forward to diving into this. Next up, we have something, I don't really know why I bought it. Letters of Mozart. One of the most gangster names of all time, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Of course, everyone knows who Mozart is, right? I hope. Austrian composer, 18th century. Yeah, he was very prolific, very influential, and it's good just to have kind of the letters and like thoughts of creative people. I mean, as someone who's trying to write, I mean, I'm not trying to compose music, but that kind of creative process is similar, and so it's good to have some insights into the creative process. So yeah, not sure when I'll read that, to be honest, but hey. Next up, we've got Gustave Flaubert. Okay, you know him. He wrote sorry, there's flies. You know him because he wrote Madame Bovary. Here we have The Temptation of St. Anthony. Okay, now you might classify this as a novel, breaking the category, but it looks from the inside kind of like a play, right? So if I open it up here, we have like all the characters being named before they speak, which is kind of play-like. It's also called what is it? Poetry and prose, which I'm not really sure what that means. But anyways, might be a novel, might not be, who knows. But Temptation of St. Anthony is a recurring theme in Western literature. St. Anthony, of course, being a saint, went into the desert for a while and was tempted by devils and demons of various kinds. And I think in Flaubert's version, he's just it's his kind of monologue, or not monologue, but dialogue between the different spirits that are tempting him, and kind of his rationalizations for why he's not going to give in to temptation, and yeah, kind of a reflection on society and faith and things like that. Okay, next up, we have some Northrop Frye. Okay, and that is the secular scripture, a study of the structure of romance. Now, Frye was a Canadian literary critic, okay, 20th century, famous for Oh, no, Anxiety of Influence was Harold Bloom. He wrote Anatomy of Criticism, okay, which I have read. One of the main theories he puts forward in that book is that there are 4 types of literature, right? There is comedy, which is associated with springtime, which is like birth, rebirth. Society is kind of, what's the right word that I'm looking for? Is redeemed from this like dark place and made into something that's like, it's given new life, basically. And then summer is associated with romance, which is what this one is about, which is, youth, kind of love, things of that nature. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I want to survive the video here with all the flies. Next, then there was fall or autumn, which is associated with tragedy, and then irony is associated with winter. So in this book, he's kind of applying his theories that were laid out in Anatomy of Criticism to romance. Now, if you're interested at all in like archetypes, like Jung or that sort of thing, you might be interested in this book because in it he kind of describes how romance touches on the deep desires and fears of human beings and kind of is a microcosm for the human experience. And so, yeah. Cool. Okay, next up there's a story behind this one. So this is The Cruising Auk, which is a short little poetry collection by George Johnson, who is a Canadian poet from, I think this is from 1956 or 7 or something. Now, I was reading Northrop Frye's The Bush Garden, which is essays on the Canadian imagination. The first half he kind of reviews Canadian poetry, and one of the books he reviews there is The Cruising Auk. And he provides some excerpts, so I read an excerpt and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny, I like that. But, I mean, I'm just totally guessing about this, but there's probably only a few hundred copies of these printed, maybe a couple thousand, like not very many. On Goodreads, okay, don't go steal it because I've already done it, but on Goodreads there's, sorry, getting attacked by flies again. There's no reviews or ratings of this book on Goodreads. So like, it's kind of like, I keep saying this word in my videos, but it's a deep cut, okay? And I was like, hey, what are the odds I'm ever going to find this? I added it to my reading list, but I'm like, I probably know I'm never going to find this. I don't know if you can see them on the camera. There's flies everywhere trying to eat me. So I added it to my reading list. I thought I'm never going to find it. I went to this one bookstore in Washington. I forget what it's called. It was massive, great selection. And I'm like, what are the odds? And I go there, and what? Look at that. There's a single copy. Oh, I killed him. Get out of here. And there it was, a single copy of this. So I was quite happy. And guess what? If you go to the back of the book here, there is a cutout of Northrop Frye's review of The Cruising Auk from, well, probably it was originally from a newspaper, but was later published in The Bush Garden. So kind of came full circle there, so kind of cool. A few more here. I found this earliest English poems, okay? It's Anglo-Saxon poetry from 700 to 1000 AD. It has, I think the most famous one in here is The Wanderer, is one of the poems it has in here. And then it has like some other cool stuff, gnomic verses, riddles, Dream of the Rude. Yeah, kind of just like a cool reference thing to have. Those of you that have been around for a while know I'm collecting the Oxford World Classics edition of Shakespeare, so I found All's Well That Ends Well. Kind of good to add to the collection there. And then lastly but not leastly, I got the complete poems of Gerard Manley Hopkins. Hopkins born, I'm forgetting now, 18, I think he's 19th century, right? Man, I just looked him up and now I'm forgetting. Anyways, he kind of, I don't know if he published much poetry while he was alive. Kind of his fame came posthumously. He was an English poet. I forgot to mention that. So from Europe, or not just from Europe, but from England. And he invented this thing called, or popularized this thing called sprung rhythm, where each foot of the meter starts with a stressed syllable, and then it's followed by a varied number of unstressed syllables. So yeah, pretty famous, pretty influential. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna end the video now because I'm getting attacked by flies. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.